Hi, today in this video we'll be going over the continuation of the C# tutorials. So in this video we'll be working on bool variables and flags. So bool variables and flags, you can use them to store true and false values. Basically you can store true and false values in bool variables, and you can use them as flags. So it's a tricky concept, but they're, in my opinion, they're the most powerful variables, especially in finance applications such as trading bots or mining software, which is, I'd say in trading bots they're more because mining is basically based on your hardware, so your hardware has to be fast. But software specifically, you can have a really crappy computer and you can have a powerful bot and still make a lot, or it can be efficient, really efficient, if you use Boolean variables very carefully. So they can be very powerful pretty much in anything. Apps, you obviously use them, they're less powerful, but they're used as switches, so you can think of using them as a switch. So what's a switch? So a switch basically is like a light switch. You can think of a switch or like a radio switch on a car or something. Well, that's not really a switch, that's a button. Perhaps you can, there's some kind of switches that sometimes you have, like in older cars they have a switch to switch on, similar to a button, but it's also, maybe could be a switch in some cars, but you can switch on and off, like power to the dashboard, or you can switch power on to like a joint lighter or something that you have on the dashboard. So yeah, so like something like that, you can use a switch to switch things on. You can switch them off when you need to use them. That's the best way to think of them. So let's just say you don't really need to talk about too much about the Boolean variables themselves. You know that they have two, so let's just say they have two possible values. They don't really need to type these out as notes. But basically, well, let's just pretend to define one. Perhaps let's make it, let's just practice. We're not going to actually run this code, but let's just say we have a field that's a bool. So we can say bool flag, and usually you want to set it to true or false. Initially, most of the time it'll be false, not in every case. Oh yeah, whoops, private bool. I'll just write that again. Sorry, so private bool flag points to false. So you can set it to true if you need to set it to true. I guess in some cases you would have something true already. Most of the time I set them to false, but there probably will be situations where you'll set them to true initially. It's just up to you, whatever you're using them for. But so you can set something to false, and the way you can use it is, for example, you can say, okay, well, this is false. We have our bool flag set to false. And we can go, maybe let's just go above here. So let's say we have a public returns a bool. In other languages they call them Boolean, so in Java they call them Booleans. C is pretty much all bool. Python, I think it is Boolean. I forgot which one Python is, Boolean or bool. It's one or the other. So in C it's bool. So public bool. Let's just say get, or let's say bool. Let's call it learn bool, whatever. So bool means, since we're having the return type as bool between here, bool is right there, so it's a return type of our method. So let's just say we have if there's different situations where you would need this. I could give you a trading example, but I'm just trying to think of something basic to show you guys. Let's have a val here then, so private int val points to 5. Let's go with double then. Let's just go with double. So private double val, let's go with 5.0. Have a private double val 2 points to 4.0. So let's say if this isn't going to make sense, but it's just an example. So if val 1, if val, sorry, not val 1, so if val points to or is equal to 5.0, then we're going to say, okay, well, flag is set to true then. And at the end of this, we can say we want to return flag, or you could have just returned true, or you could have returned false. There's a lot for bools. They can be confusing. There's other ways to kind of talk about it. So return flag is what we want to do here. There's other things that we can do. So that's just one demonstration. But let's say we have, so private bool flag points to false here, right? So here we could say, another example, we could say if flag is equal to false, what's happening there? And we can say val points to 4.3. Then we could say flag now points to true. Sorry about my typing. Then we can return flag, or we can return false, or we can return true. So you can use it like that. You can use them in conditionals like that. If flag points to false, the equivalent of this is you can say, so the tricky thing is that basically what you have to, you're going to see this almost all the time. So it just depends on the programmer. I don't usually use it. Sometimes I use it. Sometimes the not can kind of throw me off, so I just keep it like this. But what's equivalent to this? Well, this is equivalent to this. If not flag. What does that mean? Okay, so that means, is there a warning with that? No. No, okay, so that's a little bit tricky, right? So what all this is saying, it's equivalent to this. So it's exactly equivalent to this. So it's equal to this statement. So if not flag is the same thing as if flag is equal to false or points to false. You're going to see that a lot, and it can be confusing. What else do I want to say about this? Basically, what else can I talk about this? What else can I talk about this? I'm just trying to think. I swear I had something else to demonstrate. Oh, I guess not, so that's fine. So, in the case that you want to check if it, okay, so actually I remember now. So this is saying, if not flag, is equal to flag is the same thing as flag points to false. So if we just go with if, so this says if flag is equal to true, sorry, is equal to false, which is the same thing as this. So this is saying if not flag is saying if flag, so if not flag is saying if flag is equal to false, which is the exact same thing as this, if flag is equal to false, right? Exactly the same thing. Now if we want to say if flag is equal to true, you just call the boolean like that. You just call the boolean itself, which is checking if it's true or false. Don't get confused on this. When I first started out in Java, I learned C first, but I didn't really notice this till later on. But if with this isn't checking if it's true or false at the time, so don't get confused with that. This isn't saying if flag and whatever flag is. That's wrong. That'll throw you off. I didn't even learn. It wasn't in my textbook, so for a long time I just didn't really know what to do. That was forgot the author of that book. Java Foundations. They didn't I don't think they demonstrated this. But what this is really saying is if it's saying if flag points to true, then proceed into the loop. So this is saying if flag is equal to true. That's what's happening there. So just keep that in mind. That's how you use them. That's just my kind of teaching, so just make a note of that. Alright, so basically now this is what the book is teaching, so we can have, so this is from the Canadian curriculum C# book, so we can just learn here, the university curriculum. They have an example like if val is greater than some number. Right, let's just say some large number. Then we have let's just say we have a flag defined up here, which is just declared. I think it's set to false initially. You're gonna have to check that. It depends on the language. So basically here, hopefully I'll be able to tell you guys that actually soon. So basically we can say, okay, well if flag is greater than this value, then, or, so if val is greater than this value, flag points to true, else flag points to false. And if it's already set to false, you didn't really have to do this, because it's going to stay false, but maybe you want to assert it at some point. Maybe you just want to assert this just because you need to, so it's up to you. So pretty much that's it. Okay, so let's just move on to some other stuff here. So a flag is a variable that signals when some conditions exist in the program. You can do other things, basically whatever you want. Obviously in here, it doesn't have to. You don't just have to reset the Boolean to whatever the opposite state or the same state, whatever. So Boolean has two states, just remember that, true and false only. Those are its only two possible values. So you can only use true or false. For Boolean, it can only be either true or false. So they use it in electrical engineering, so they, like circuit boards, you can think of that. So in other languages such as C, they have true is equal to 1, false is equal to 0. So if like power is in that part of the, I never really did this, but if you have power to one part of the circuit, then you have basically the Boolean would be set to true. The bool would be, and if you have power not part of the circuit, that part of the circuit, then at that part the Boolean would be set to false, something like that. It's used in electrical engineering, all that. So they do have a very important use, even outside of just software itself. So they're used with like switchboards and microprocessors and all that. Okay, so we talked about the shortcut, just saying not flag or flag, which we talked about. And that's pretty much going to conclude it for now. So thanks for watching, guys. If you guys liked the tutorial, you can like and subscribe to the channel to support the channel. So thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. We will be discussing comparing strings. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.